Elena Ruiz thought helping an elderly stranger escape a violent robbery was just another act of kindness in her struggling life as a waitress. She had no idea the elegant woman was Lucia DeLuca, mother of the city's most feared Mafia boss. When masked gunmen stormed her apartment building at dawn, Elena realized her simple act of heroism had painted a deadly target on her back and her 8-year-old brothers. But as Nico DeLuca's cold eyes met hers across her cramped kitchen, promising protection that felt more like possession, Elena faced an impossible choice: accept help from a dangerous man whose world could destroy them, or watch everything she loved burn in the crossfire. What she couldn't predict was how protection would become obsession, safety would become captivity, and the man sworn to guard her life would steal her heart in ways that would change them both forever. The moment she said yes to his offer, Elena Ruiz ceased to exist, and something far more dangerous was born in her place. Subscribe and comment below if you've ever had to choose between safety and freedom, because this story is about to prove that sometimes the most dangerous prison is built from love itself. Elena's alarm screamed at 5:30 in the morning. She slapped it silent and rolled out of bed. Her back ached from the second-hand mattress. The apartment walls pressed close around her. "Luis?" she called softly. No answer came from the other room. Elena padded across cold linoleum and peeked through his doorway. Her 8-year-old brother slept curled under thin blankets. His breathing sounded rough again. Elena felt worried. The cough had gotten worse over the past week. She grabbed her waitress uniform from the closet. The black pants had a small tear near the knee. The white shirt needed washing, but would have to wait. Money was too tight for laundry this week. "Luis, time to get up," she said gently. He stirred and opened dark eyes that matched hers. "Do I have to go to school today?" "Yes, you have to go." Elena sat on the edge of his bed. "Mrs. Rodriguez is picking you up at 8. Luis coughed hard. The sound made Elena's chest tighten. She pressed her hand to his forehead. No fever, but the cough worried her. "I'll pick up your inhaler refill after work," she said. "Can you make it through today?" He nodded and sat up slowly. "I'm okay, Elena." She kissed his forehead and went to make breakfast. 2 pieces of toast and the last of the orange juice. The refrigerator hummed loudly in the corner. Rent was due in 3 days. Tips had been slow this month. Elena felt scared about the money. She always felt scared about money. "Eat quick," she told Luis when he shuffled into the kitchen. "I have to leave in 10 minutes." The morning routine felt familiar. Luis ate quietly while Elena braided her long black hair. She grabbed her purse and checked for bus fare, exactly enough for today. "Be good at school," she said, hugging Luis tight. "No running around. Save your breath." "I know," he said. "Love you, Elena." "Love you too." The October air bit through her thin jacket as she hurried to the bus stop. Brooklyn streets buzzed with early commuters. Car horns blared, engines rumbled. The city never slept. Elena climbed onto the crowded bus and found a seat near the back. She watched familiar neighborhoods roll past through smudged windows. The diner sat on a busy corner in Park Slope. Not the nicest area, but the tips were decent. Her phone buzzed with a text from her manager. "Need you to work a double today. Sarah called in sick." Elena's stomach dropped. A double meant 14 hours on her feet. It also meant leaving Luis longer with Mrs. Rodriguez. The elderly neighbor was kind, but Elena hated imposing. She typed back, "Okay." The diner smelled like coffee and bacon grease when Elena pushed through the front door. Morning rush was already starting. The owner, Jerry, barely looked up from the register. "Table 6 needs coffee," he said, "and the new girl quit yesterday." Elena felt frustrated. They were always short-staffed. She tied her apron around her waist and grabbed the coffee pot. "Good morning," she said to the elderly woman at table 6. "Would you like cream with that?" The woman looked up with sharp blue eyes. Her silver hair was perfectly styled. Diamond earrings caught the morning light. She wore an expensive coat that seemed out of place in their modest diner. "Just black, dear," the woman said. Her voice was cultured, educated. "And thank you." Elena poured the coffee carefully. Something about the woman's presence felt different. She carried herself with quiet authority. "Are you ready to order?" Elena asked. "2 eggs over easy, whole wheat toast, no butter." The woman studied Elena's face. "You work very hard, don't you?" Elena felt surprised by the personal observation. "I do what I have to do." "What's your name?" "Elena Ruiz." "I'm Lucia DeLuca. You have kind eyes, Elena." Elena felt her cheeks warm. Most customers barely noticed her. "Thank you, Mrs. DeLuca. I'll get your order right in." The morning rush intensified. Elena moved between tables with practiced efficiency. Her feet throbbed in worn sneakers. Coffee pot in one hand, order pad in the other, she served truckers and office workers and retirees. Lucia DeLuca sat quietly at her corner table for 2 hours. She read a newspaper and sipped 3 cups of coffee. She tipped $20 on a $12 bill. "That's too much," Elena said when she saw the money. "Kindness should be rewarded," Lucia said simply. "I'll see you again soon, dear." Elena watched the elegant woman leave. Something about her felt familiar, though they'd never met before. The lunch rush brought more chaos. Elena's legs ached. Her head pounded from the noise and heat. She thought about Luis at school and hoped his cough wasn't getting worse. At 3:00, Lucia returned. She ordered the same thing and sat at the same table. This time she watched Elena work with careful attention. "You care about people," Lucia said when Elena refilled her coffee. "I try to," Elena said. "Everyone deserves kindness." "Not everyone believes that." Lucia's voice was quiet, especially in this city. Elena felt curious about the woman's sadness, but customers didn't usually share personal details. She just smiled and moved to the next table. When her shift ended at 9, Elena's back screamed with pain. Her feet felt swollen in her shoes. She'd made $63 in tips. Not great, but enough for groceries tomorrow. Lucia waited near the front door as Elena clocked out. "Let me walk with you," Lucia said. "It's dark out there." "I take the bus," Elena said. "But thank you." "Then let me walk you to the bus stop." Elena felt touched by the offer. Most people hurried past each other on Brooklyn streets. "That's very kind." They stepped outside together. October wind whipped between buildings. Elena pulled her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders. "You have family?" Lucia asked as they walked. "My little brother," Elena said. "Luis, he's 8. "Just the 2 of you?" Elena nodded. She didn't like talking about their parents. Car accident 3 years ago. Social services almost split them up. Elena fought to keep Luis with her. "That's a big responsibility for someone so young," Lucia said. "He's worth it," Elena said. Her voice was firm. "He's everything to me." Lucia's expression softened. "I can see that." They reached the corner where Elena caught her bus. Yellow streetlights cast long shadows on the sidewalk. A few people waited at the bus stop. "Thank you for walking with me," Elena said. "That was really nice." "Be careful getting home," Lucia said. "This neighborhood changes at night." Elena felt puzzled by the warning. Park Slope was relatively safe, but Lucia's concern seemed genuine. The bus arrived with a hiss of air brakes. Elena climbed the steps and found a seat. Through the window, she watched Lucia walk toward a black sedan parked across the street. A man in a dark suit opened the passenger door for her. Elena felt curious about who Lucia really was. The expensive clothes and private car suggested wealth, but she ate at their working-class diner like it was normal. 20 minutes later, Elena climbed the stairs to her third-floor apartment. She was exhausted. Her body ached everywhere. Luis was asleep on the couch with homework spread around him. "Hey, baby," she whispered, shaking his shoulder gently. He opened his eyes and coughed. The sound was worse than this morning. "How was school?" Elena asked. "Fine," he said. "Mrs. Rodriguez made soup for dinner." Elena felt grateful for their kind neighbor. "Did you use your inhaler today?" Luis nodded. "Twice, but it's almost empty." Elena's chest tightened. The refill cost $40. Money they needed for rent. But Luis's breathing was more important than anything else. "I'll get more tomorrow," she promised. "Go. Brush your teeth." She helped Luis gather his homework and tucked him into his real bed. The small bedroom barely fit a twin mattress and dresser, but it was theirs. "Elena?" Luis said as she turned off the light. "Yeah?" "I heard some kids at school talking about bad men in the neighborhood. Are we safe here?" Elena felt her stomach drop. She'd heard the rumors, too. Gang activity increasing, drug dealers moving in. But she couldn't afford to move somewhere better. "We're safe," she lied. "I won't let anything happen to you." Luis smiled and closed his eyes. Within minutes, his breathing deepened into sleep. Elena sat on her own bed and counted the day's tips again. $63. Add yesterday's, $42. Still not enough for rent and Luis's medicine. She could ask Mrs. Rodriguez for a loan or call the church where they used to volunteer. Both options made her feel ashamed. Elena prided herself on taking care of Luis without help. Elena felt overwhelmed by the constant struggle. Some days she wondered if Luis would be better off with a real family, people who could give him everything he needed. But then she remembered his smile, the way he hugged her when she came home from work, how he drew pictures of them together as superheroes. Luis needed her, and she needed him. Elena changed into pajamas and tried to sleep. Car horns blared outside their window. Sirens wailed in the distance. The city hummed with constant noise and movement. Tomorrow would bring the same routine. Get Luis ready for school, work all day at the diner, worry about money and medicine and keeping them afloat. She closed her eyes and prayed for strength to handle whatever came next. The next morning started exactly the same. Alarm at 5:30. Luis coughing in his bed. Toast and orange juice for breakfast. Elena felt tired before her day even started. "Your cough sounds worse," she said as Luis got dressed. "I'm okay," he insisted, but his breathing was labored. Elena made a mental note to call the doctor after work. Maybe they could work out a payment plan for a visit. Luis's health was more important than her pride. The bus ride to work felt longer than usual. Elena stared out the window at gray October clouds. Rain threatened to fall. She'd forgotten her umbrella. Lucia sat at the same corner table when Elena arrived at the diner. Today she wore a navy blue dress and pearl necklace. Her silver hair was perfectly styled again. "Good morning, dear," Lucia said with a warm smile. "You look tired." Elena felt embarrassed that her exhaustion was so obvious. "Long night? Coffee? Please. And Elena, I'd like to hear about your brother today." Elena felt surprised by the request, but Lucia's interest seemed genuine. "What would you like to know?" "Everything," Lucia said. "I love children." As Elena worked her morning tables, she found herself sharing stories about Luis. His love of drawing, his gentle nature, how smart he was in school. Lucia listened with complete attention. He sounds like a special boy, Lucia said during a quiet moment. He is, Elena said. Her voice was soft with love. He's my whole world. And he's lucky to have you. Lucia's eyes were kind. Not everyone would sacrifice so much for family. Elena felt touched by the praise. She wasn't used to anyone noticing her efforts. The lunch rush brought the usual chaos. Elena moved between tables with mechanical efficiency. Her back ached, her feet throbbed. She thought about Luis's empty inhaler and felt her chest tighten with worry. At closing time, Lucia waited by the front door again. "Walk with me?" she asked. Elena nodded. She'd grown to enjoy their brief conversations. Lucia felt like the grandmother Elena had never known. They stepped outside together. The October air was crisp and clear. Stars were visible despite the city lights. "Elena," Lucia said as they walked, "I want to help you." Elena felt her guard rise instantly. "Help how?" "Your brother needs medicine. You need money for rent. I can see the worry in your eyes." Elena felt embarrassed that her struggles were so transparent. "We manage fine." "I'm sure you do, but children shouldn't have to manage. They should thrive." Elena stopped walking. Her voice was careful. "Mrs. DeLuca, I appreciate your kindness, but Luis and I take care of ourselves." "Pride is admirable," Lucia said gently, "but sometimes accepting help is stronger than refusing it." Elena felt torn between desperation and independence. She needed the money desperately, but taking charity felt wrong. "I can't," she said finally, "but thank you for caring." Lucia nodded with understanding. "The offer stands, dear. Always." They reached the bus stop. Elena felt grateful for Lucia's friendship, even if she couldn't accept her help. "Be safe going home," Lucia said, "and think about what I said." Elena climbed onto her bus and found a seat. Through the window, she watched Lucia walk toward her black sedan. The same man in the dark suit opened her door. Elena felt curious about Lucia's life outside the diner. She clearly had money and influence, but she spent her days in their modest restaurant talking to a struggling waitress. The bus pulled away from the curb. Elena settled back in her seat and tried to ignore the guilt gnawing at her stomach. Maybe she was being stupid to refuse help. Luis needed his medicine. They needed to keep their apartment. But Elena had learned early that accepting help always came with strings attached. She'd rather struggle honestly than owe someone she barely knew. 20 minutes later, Elena climbed the stairs to her apartment. Mrs. Rodriguez met her on the second-floor landing. "Elena, dear," the elderly woman said. Her voice was worried. "Luis had trouble breathing this afternoon. I gave him his inhaler, but it barely helped." Elena felt her heart stop. "Where is he now?" "Upstairs doing homework, but I think you should take him to the doctor soon." Elena felt panic rising in her throat. A doctor visit would cost money they didn't have, but Luis's breathing was getting worse. "Thank you for watching him," Elena said. "I'll handle it." She climbed the last flight of stairs with heavy legs. Luis sat at their small kitchen table with his math homework spread out. His breathing was shallow and forced. "Hey, baby," Elena said, trying to keep her voice calm. "How do you feel?" "Okay," Luis said, but he could barely get the word out. Elena felt terrified. She knelt beside his chair and listened to his chest. His lungs wheezed with each breath. "We're going to the emergency room," she said. "No," Luis protested weakly. "It costs too much money." Elena felt her heart break. An 8-year-old shouldn't worry about medical bills. "Money doesn't matter," she said firmly. "You're what matters." She helped Luis put on his jacket and gathered their insurance cards. The emergency room would mean hours of waiting and a bill they couldn't afford. But Luis's breathing scared her more than debt. They took a taxi to Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. Elena held Luis's hand as he struggled to breathe in the back seat. The city blurred past through tinted windows. "I'm scared," Luis whispered. "Don't be scared," Elena said. Her voice was steady even though her hands shook. "I'm right here." The emergency room was crowded and loud. Elena checked Luis in at the front desk and found seats in the waiting area. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The smell of disinfectant burned her nose. Luis leaned against Elena's shoulder and closed his eyes. His breathing sounded worse in the quiet hospital. "Elena Ruiz?" a nurse called after 2 hours. Elena helped Luis to his feet and followed the nurse to a small examination room. The doctor was young and tired-looking. "Severe asthma attack," he said after listening to Luis's chest. "We need to give him a breathing treatment." Elena felt relief flood through her, a breathing treatment she could afford. "Is he going to be okay?" she asked. "He'll be fine tonight, but his asthma is getting worse. He needs to see a specialist." Elena's chest tightened. Specialists cost more than emergency rooms? "How much will that cost?" she asked quietly. The doctor's expression softened. "There are programs that can help with payment. I'll have someone talk to you." An hour later, Luis was breathing normally again. The breathing treatment had worked, but Elena knew this was just a temporary fix. "Can we go home now?" Luis asked. "Yes, baby, we can go home." The hospital discharge planner gave Elena a list of resources for low-income families: free clinics, payment assistance programs, government aid applications. Elena felt humiliated by the charity options. But Luis's health was more important than her pride. They took another taxi home. The evening air felt cold against Elena's skin. Luis fell asleep against her shoulder during the ride. Elena carried her brother up 3 flights of stairs. He felt too light in her arms. The asthma was affecting his appetite and energy. She tucked Luis into bed and sat beside him in the dark. His breathing was steady now, but still too shallow. Elena felt overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility. She was 28 years old and Luis's entire world. Sometimes that felt like too much. Her phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number. "Elena, this is Lucia. I hope you don't mind that I got your number from the diner's employee file. I heard about Luis's emergency room visit tonight. Please let me help you. Some things are more important than pride." Elena stared at the message. How had Lucia found out about the hospital? And how did she get access to employee files? Elena felt suspicious for the first time. Lucia's wealth and influence suddenly seemed less innocent. Normal customers didn't have that kind of information access. She typed back, "How do you know about tonight?" The response came immediately. "I have connections in this neighborhood. Word travels fast. The offer of help is genuine, Elena. No strings attached." Elena felt unsure about trusting someone with mysterious connections. But Luis needed medical care they couldn't afford. She stared at her sleeping brother and made a decision. "Thank you for caring," she typed. "But we'll find another way." Elena turned off her phone and tried to sleep. Tomorrow she would call the free clinic, apply for government assistance, swallow her pride, and ask for help from proper channels. But something about Lucia's message bothered her. The woman knew too much and offered help too easily. In Elena's experience, nothing good came without a price. She closed her eyes and prayed for strength to handle whatever came next. Outside their window, the city hummed with constant motion and hidden dangers. Elena didn't know that across the street, a man in a black SUV watched their building with careful attention, or that Lucia DeLuca's phone call had set events in motion that would change their lives forever. She only knew that Luis was breathing steadily beside her, For tonight, that was enough, but tomorrow would bring new challenges. And Elena Ruiz had no idea how dangerous those challenges would become. The next morning started with a phone call that changed everything. Elena was making breakfast when her phone rang. Unknown number again. "Miss Ruiz?" The voice was male, professional, unfamiliar. "This is Dr. Morrison from the pediatric clinic. Mrs. Lucia DeLuca has arranged for your brother to see our asthma specialist today at no charge." Elena felt her stomach drop. "I didn't make that appointment." "Mrs. DeLuca explained your situation. She's covered all costs for Luis's treatment." Elena felt angry and grateful at the same time. Lucia had gone behind her back, but Luis needed the medical care desperately. "I'll need to call you back," Elena said. She hung up and immediately dialed the diner. Jerry answered on the third ring. "Is Lucia DeLuca there?" Elena asked. "The lady in the corner?" "Yeah, she's here. Want me to get her?" "Yes, please." Elena waited with her heart pounding. Luis sat at the kitchen table eating cereal, unaware of the tension surrounding him. "Elena, dear." Lucia's voice was warm and calm. "I hope you're not angry with me." "I told you we couldn't accept help," Elena said. Her voice was tight with frustration. "Sometimes children's health is more important than adult pride," Lucia said gently. "The appointment is at 2:00. The address is Brooklyn Heights Medical Plaza." Elena felt torn between anger and desperation. Luis needed the specialist, but she hated being manipulated. "This isn't how things are supposed to work," Elena said. "How are they supposed to work?" Lucia asked. "A child suffers while his sister struggles alone? That's not right, Elena." Elena looked at Luis. His breathing was still shallow from last night's attack. The free clinic wouldn't see him for 2 weeks. "Why are you doing this?" Elena asked quietly. "Because you remind me of someone I used to know," Lucia said. Her voice was sad. "Someone who was too proud to accept help when she needed it most." Elena felt her resistance weakening. Luis's health was more important than her pride. "I'll pay you back," Elena said finally. "Every penny." "If that makes you feel better, then yes, you can pay me back." Elena hung up feeling defeated and grateful. She called in sick to work and spent the morning researching the medical clinic online. Brooklyn Heights Medical Plaza was in an expensive part of the city. The website showed state-of-the-art equipment and prestigious doctors. Luis would get the best possible care. They took the subway to Brooklyn Heights at 1:30. Luis wore his best clothes, khakis and a button-down shirt Elena had bought for school pictures. "Where are we going?" he asked as they walked through the upscale neighborhood. "To see a doctor about your breathing," Elena said. "A really good doctor." The medical plaza was elegant and modern, marble floors and glass walls. Nothing like the crowded community clinic where they usually went. Elena felt out of place in her waitress uniform and worn sneakers, but the reception staff treated them with professional courtesy. "Luis Ruiz for Dr. Patterson," Elena said. The receptionist smiled warmly. "Right this way?" Mrs. DeLuca called ahead to explain the situation. Elena felt curious again about Lucia's influence. How did she arrange appointments with prestigious doctors so easily? Dr. Patterson was middle-aged with kind eyes and gentle hands. He listened to Luis's chest with careful attention. "Severe asthma, but very manageable," he said after the examination. "We'll start with a new medication protocol and see him again in 2 weeks." Elena felt relief flood through her. Luis would be okay. "What do we owe?" she asked carefully. "Nothing today. Mrs. DeLuca has arranged for ongoing coverage of Luis's treatment." Elena felt overwhelmed by the generosity. Also, suspicious of Lucia's resources and connections. Who is she exactly? Elena asked. Mrs. DeLuca, I mean. Dr. Patterson's expression became carefully neutral. A generous patron who helps families in need. Your brother is lucky to have her support. Elena felt like there was more to the story. But Luis was getting excellent medical care. That was what mattered most. They left the clinic with a bag full of new medications and a follow-up appointment scheduled. Luis smiled for the first time in days. I can breathe better already, he said as they walked to the subway. Elena felt grateful despite her reservations. Lucia had given Luis something Elena couldn't provide, proper medical care. But she also felt like she owed a debt she didn't understand. And in Elena's experience, debts always came with hidden costs. They were walking toward the subway station when Elena noticed the black sedan parked across the street. The same car she'd seen outside the diner. A man in a dark suit sat behind the wheel, watching them. Elena felt her heart rate quicken. She grabbed Luis's hand and walked faster. Elena? Luis said. What's wrong? Nothing, baby. Let's just get home. Elena glanced over her shoulder. The sedan was following them slowly down the street. Elena felt scared for the first time since meeting Lucia. Who was this woman who could arrange expensive medical care and had people following them? They reached the subway entrance, and Elena looked back one more time. The sedan had stopped at the corner. The driver was talking on his phone. Elena pulled Luis down the stairs and through the turnstile. Her hands shook as she fumbled for their Metro cards. Are we in trouble? Luis asked quietly. No, Elena said, but her voice wasn't convincing. We're fine. The train arrived and they found seats in the crowded car. Elena watched the windows carefully, but didn't see the sedan again. During the 20-minute ride home, Elena thought about Lucia's mysterious wealth and influence. The expensive medical care, the people watching them from black cars. Elena felt like she'd accepted help from someone dangerous. But Luis needed the medicine, and the specialist said his asthma was manageable with proper treatment. She would have to be more careful around Lucia, ask more questions, set better boundaries. But for tonight, Luis was breathing easily for the first time in weeks. That was worth almost any risk. They climbed the stairs to their apartment as evening shadows stretched across the building. Mrs. Rodriguez peeked out her door as they passed. How's our boy feeling? She asked with grandmotherly concern. Much better, Elena said. The new medicine is already helping. Good. That's very good news. Elena unlocked their apartment door and helped Luis with his homework at the kitchen table. His breathing was steady and strong. The new medicine worked better than anything they'd tried before, but Elena couldn't shake the image of the black sedan following them through Brooklyn Heights. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucia. I hope Luis's appointment went well. You're both in my thoughts. Elena stared at the message for a long time before responding, Thank you for everything, but I need to know who you really are. The response came immediately. Someone who cares about you and Luis. That's all that matters right now. Elena felt frustrated by the evasive answer, but she was too tired to push for more information tonight. She made dinner and helped Luis with his bath. The evening routine felt normal despite the day's strange events. Elena, Luis said as she tucked him into bed, I like breathing better now. Me too, baby. Elena kissed his forehead. Sweet dreams. She sat in the living room and tried to make sense of the day. Lucia's generous help, the expensive medical care, the sedan following them home. Elena felt like she'd stepped into someone else's life, a life with luxury medical care and mysterious benefactors and men in dark suits. She didn't know if that was a good thing or a very dangerous thing, but Luis was sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. His breathing was deep and steady. The new medicine gave him strength and energy he'd been missing. Elena fell asleep on the couch with her hand on her phone. She dreamed of black sedans and elegant women and debt that couldn't be repaid. She didn't know that 3 blocks away, Lucia DeLuca was making phone calls that would change everything, or that by morning, Elena's simple life as a struggling waitress would be over forever. She only knew that Luis was breathing easily beside her, and sometimes that had to be enough. But tomorrow would bring new dangers, and Elena Ruiz was about to discover exactly what kind of help Lucia DeLuca really offered. The kind that came with protection she didn't want and obligations she couldn't escape. The kind that would force her into a world where breathing easy was the least of their problems. Elena woke to pounding on her apartment door at 6 a.m. Luis stirred in his bed as heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. "Elena Ruiz," a deep voice called through the door. "We need to talk." Elena felt her heart stop. She grabbed her robe and moved to the front window. A black SUV sat parked on the street below, the same type of vehicle she'd seen yesterday. "Who is it?" she called through the door. "Friend of Lucia DeLuca." Elena felt her stomach drop. She'd known accepting help would come with complications, but she hadn't expected them to arrive at dawn. "Luis, stay in your room," she whispered to her brother. Elena opened the door with the chain still attached. A tall man in an expensive suit stood in the hallway. His dark hair was perfectly styled. His eyes were cold and calculating. "Miss Ruiz," he said. His voice was smooth and dangerous. "I'm Nico DeLuca, Lucia's son." Elena felt the pieces clicking together. The mysterious wealth, the medical connections, the black cars, and surveillance. "Mafia," she whispered. Nico's expression didn't change. "May I come in? We have things to discuss." Elena felt terrified but also curious. She'd helped his mother without knowing who she was. That had to count for something. "Give me a minute," Elena said. She closed the door and leaned against it. Her hand shook as she processed the situation. Lucia DeLuca wasn't just a wealthy woman. She was connected to organized crime. Elena felt stupid for not seeing the signs earlier. The expensive clothes and jewelry, the black sedans and drivers, the ability to arrange medical care with a phone call. "Elena?" Luis called from his bedroom. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine, baby. Stay in your room for a few more minutes." Elena changed into jeans and a sweater. She brushed her hair quickly and checked her appearance in the mirror. She looked scared and tired. Elena felt like her life was spinning out of control, but she needed to face whatever Nico DeLuca wanted from them. She opened the door without the chain this time. Nico stepped inside and looked around their small apartment. His presence made everything feel smaller and shabbier. "Coffee?" Elena offered automatically. "Thank you." Elena moved to the kitchen and started the coffee maker with shaking hands. Nico sat at their small table and watched her with careful attention. "Your mother helped Luis," Elena said as she waited for the coffee to brew. "I'm grateful for that." "She likes you," Nico said. His voice was neutral. "She thinks you remind her of someone." "Who?" "My wife." Elena felt surprised by the personal revelation. She hadn't expected him to share family information. "She must be very special," Elena said carefully. "She's dead." Elena felt her chest tighten with sympathy. "I'm sorry for your loss." Nico nodded once. His expression remained carefully controlled. The coffee finished brewing, and Elena poured 2 cups. Her hands were steadier now. She sat across from Nico at the table. "What do you want from us?" Elena asked directly. "Nothing," Nico said. "But there's something you need to know." Elena felt her guard rise. What? The men who tried to rob my mother yesterday weren't random criminals. Elena felt confused. What do you mean? They were sent by someone who wanted to hurt her, to get to me. Elena felt the danger of the situation settling around her shoulders. But I stopped them. It's over. No, Nico said quietly. It's not over. Elena felt scared again. What does that mean? It means they know who you are now. They know you helped her, and they might try to use that against my family. Elena felt like the walls were closing in around her. Use it how? By hurting you and Luis. Elena felt panic rising in her throat. We didn't do anything wrong. We just helped an old woman. That was enough, Nico said. His voice was matter-of-fact. In my world, kindness makes you a target. Elena felt angry and scared at the same time. So, what are you saying? That we're in danger because we helped your mother? Yes. The simple answer hit Elena harder than a long explanation would have. She thought about Luis sleeping peacefully in his bedroom, about the normal life they'd built together. What do you want us to do? Elena asked quietly. Accept protection. Elena felt her independence rebelling against the idea. What kind of protection? Security, guards, until the threat is eliminated. Elena felt trapped between danger and control. And if we refuse? Nico's eyes found hers across the table. Then you'll be on your own, against people who don't care that you're innocent. Elena felt like she was standing at the edge of a cliff. Jump into Nico's world of protection and control, or stay independent and risk Luis's safety. I need time to think, Elena said. You have until tonight. Nico stood from the table. I'll have men watching your building today, just in case. Elena felt her temper flare. You can't just assign us bodyguards without permission. I can, and I am, Nico said. His voice was firm. My mother cares about you. That makes you family business. Elena felt overwhelmed by the arrogance and protectiveness in equal measure. We're not family business. We're just people who helped a stranger. In my world, there's no such thing as strangers, Nico said. Only allies and enemies. Elena felt like she was speaking a different language from this man. What world is that exactly? Nico studied her face for a long moment. The kind where good people get hurt for doing the right thing. Elena felt the weight of his words settling in her chest. She thought about Luis's improved breathing and the expensive medical care they couldn't afford. Your mother's help came with strings attached, Elena said. All help comes with strings attached, Nico said. The question is whether you can live with them. Elena felt like she was drowning in complications she'd never asked for. And if we accept your protection, what then? Then you stay alive. You continue your normal lives with some additional security. Elena felt like he was simplifying something much more complex. For how long? Until it's safe. When will that be? Nico's expression darkened. When the people who threaten my mother are no longer a problem. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She didn't want to know what that meant exactly. I need to get Luis ready for school, Elena said, standing from the table. He's not going to school today. Elena felt her temper spike again. Excuse me? It's not safe. He stays here with protection until we know more about the threat. Elena felt her control slipping away piece by piece. You can't keep him prisoner. I'm keeping him alive, Nico said. His voice was cold and final. Elena felt tears of frustration building behind her eyes. This is insane. We helped your mother, and now our entire lives are being turned upside down. Yes, Nico said simply. That's exactly what happened. Elena felt like screaming at his matter-of-fact attitude, but she also felt scared about the danger he described. "Elena?" Luis called from his bedroom. "Can I come out now?" Elena looked at Nico with desperate eyes. "Don't scare him, please." Nico's expression softened slightly. "I won't frighten the boy." "You can come out, Luis," Elena called. Luis appeared in the doorway wearing pajamas and bed hair. He looked between Elena and Nico with curious eyes. "This is Mr. DeLuca," Elena said carefully, "Lucia's son." "Hi," Luis said shyly. "Is Lucia okay?" She seemed nice. Something shifted in Nico's expression when Luis spoke. His hard features relaxed into something almost gentle. "She's fine," Nico said. His voice was warmer than Elena had heard it. "She wanted me to check on you and your sister." Luis smiled and moved closer to Elena. "My breathing is much better. The new medicine really works." "I'm glad to hear that," Nico said. He looked genuinely pleased by Luis's improvement. Elena felt surprised by the change in Nico's demeanor around Luis. The cold businessman had been replaced by something more human. "Are you staying for breakfast?" Luis asked hopefully. "Elena makes really good pancakes." Elena felt her breath catch. She didn't want Luis getting attached to someone from their dangerous new reality. "Mr. DeLuca has to go to work," Elena said quickly. "Actually," Nico said, surprising her, "pancakes sound good." Elena felt trapped. She couldn't refuse without seeming rude in front of Luis, but she didn't want to extend their interaction either. "I'll need to go shopping for ingredients," Elena said. "I'll have groceries delivered," Nico said, pulling out his phone. Elena felt her independence slipping away again. "That's not necessary." "It is today," Nico said. He made a quick call in Italian, then hung up. "Food will be here in an hour." Luis clapped his hands together excitedly. "Can we watch cartoons while we wait?" Nico looked amused by the request. "If your sister doesn't mind." Elena felt overwhelmed by the domestic scene developing in her living room. Yesterday, she'd been a struggling waitress. Today, she was entertaining a Mafia boss while grocery delivery was arranged by phone call. "Cartoons are fine," Elena said weakly. Luis turned on their small television and found his favorite show. Nico sat on their second-hand couch and watched with apparent interest. Elena retreated to the kitchen and tried to process what was happening. Her simple life was being systematically taken over by the DeLuca family. But Luis was breathing easily and laughing at cartoon characters. He looked healthier and happier than he had in weeks. Elena felt torn between gratitude and resentment. The DeLucas were solving their problems, but they were also creating new ones. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jerry at the diner. "Where are you? Need you here for morning rush?" Elena realized she hadn't called in sick yet. She was supposed to be at work in an hour. She walked back to the living room where Nico sat watching cartoons with Luis curled up beside him on the couch. "I need to go to work," Elena said. "No," Nico said without looking away from the television. "It's not safe." Elena felt her temper rising again. "I can't just not show up. I'll lose my job." "I'll handle it." Elena felt like he was taking over her entire existence. "How exactly will you handle it?" "Phone call." Elena felt frustrated by his simple answers to complex problems. "You can't just call my boss and explain that I can't come to work because of Mafia threats?" Nico looked at her with patient eyes. "Yes, I can." Elena felt like she was arguing with a wall. "And then what? I lose my job and we have no income?" "You won't need the job." Elena felt her world tilting off its axis. "What do you mean?" "I mean you'll be taken care of." Elena felt panic rising in her chest. "I don't want to be taken care of. I want to take care of myself and Luis." That's no longer possible. Elena felt like she might cry from frustration. "Because we helped your mother?" Because you helped my mother and now you're targets. Elena looked at Luis, who was absorbed in his cartoons and unaware of the adult conversation happening around him. This is insane, Elena whispered. This is reality, Nico said quietly. I'm sorry it's not the reality you wanted. Elena felt defeated. She sat down in her worn armchair and tried to think of options. How long? She asked finally. How long would we need protection? I don't know yet. Elena felt like she was signing a contract without reading the terms. And during that time, what happens to our lives? You live somewhere safe. Luis gets the best medical care. You don't worry about money or rent or groceries. Elena felt tempted, despite herself. The constant struggle for survival had worn her down over the past 3 years. And in return, Nico met her eyes directly. In return, you let me keep you alive. Elena felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her shoulders. Accept his protection and lose their independence. Refuse and risk Luis's safety. There was really no choice at all. If we agree, Elena said slowly, what would that look like? You move to a secure location, armed guards, limited outside contact until the threat is eliminated. Elena felt like she was agreeing to house arrest. For how long? As long as it takes. Elena felt trapped by his non-answers. That could be months. It could be. Elena looked at Luis again. He was laughing at cartoon characters and breathing easily. The new medicine had given him energy and color she hadn't seen in months. I need guarantees, Elena said, about Luis's medical care, about our safety, about what happens when this is over. Done. Elena felt surprised by his immediate agreement. Just like that. My mother wants you protected. That's all the guarantee you need. Elena felt like she was stepping off a cliff into darkness. But Luis's safety was more important than her comfort zone. Okay, Elena said quietly. We'll accept your protection. Something shifted in Nico's expression. Relief, maybe, or satisfaction. Good, he said. We leave tonight. Elena felt her heart rate spike. Tonight? Where are we going? Somewhere safe. Elena felt like she was losing control of every aspect of her life. I need more details than that. You'll have them when you need them. Elena felt frustrated by his evasive answers. When will we be able to come back here? When it's over. Elena looked around their small apartment. It wasn't much, but it was home. Luis had grown up within these walls. All their memories lived here. What about our things? Elena asked. Pack light. Everything else will be taken care of. Elena felt like she was dissolving into someone else's life. And Mrs. Rodriguez? Our neighbor who watches Luis? She'll be told you're visiting family out of state. Elena felt impressed despite herself by how thoroughly he'd thought through the logistics. But she also felt manipulated. The groceries arrived an hour later, expensive ingredients Elena never could have afforded. Luis helped her make pancakes while Nico answered phone calls in Italian. Elena felt surreal about the domestic scene. Yesterday she'd been a struggling single mother. Today she was cooking breakfast for a Mafia boss in her pajamas. These are really good, Nico said when they sat down to eat. Luis beamed with pride. Elena teaches me how to cook sometimes. I'm good at mixing. That's important, Nico said seriously. Every man should know how to cook. Elena felt surprised by his encouragement of Luis. Most men she knew thought cooking was women's work. Do you cook? Luis asked curiously. Sometimes, Nico said. My mother taught me when I was your age. Elena felt a glimpse of the boy Nico used to be before he became whatever he was now. What's your favorite thing to make? Luis asked. Pasta sauce, Nico said, like my grandmother used to make. Elena felt touched by the family memory. It humanized him in a way that made her more comfortable. After breakfast, Nico made several phone calls while Elena and Luis packed their belongings. She tried to explain the situation without scaring him. "We're going to stay somewhere else for a little while," Elena said as Luis folded his clothes. "Like a vacation?" Luis asked hopefully. "Sort of. But we need to be very careful and follow all the rules." Luis nodded seriously. "Because of bad people?" Elena felt her chest tighten. "Yes, baby, because of bad people." "Will Mr. DeLuca keep us safe?" Elena looked toward the living room where Nico was speaking in rapid Italian on his phone. His voice was hard and commanding. "Yes," Elena said, "he'll keep us safe." Elena felt like she was making a promise she wasn't sure she could keep, but Luis needed to feel secure. They finished packing 2 small suitcases. Elena included Luis's medications and favorite stuffed animal. Everything else would have to stay behind. "Ready?" Nico asked when they emerged from the bedroom. Elena felt like nothing in her life had prepared her for this moment. "As ready as we can be." Nico carried their suitcases downstairs while Elena and Luis followed. The black SUV waited at the curb with a driver in the front seat. "Where exactly are we going?" Elena asked one more time. "My mother's house," Nico said, "the safest place in Brooklyn." Elena felt slightly relieved. At least they would be with Lucia, who felt familiar and kind. Luis climbed into the back seat and pressed his face to the window. "This car is really nice," he said with 8-year-old appreciation. Elena settled beside him and tried to calm her racing heart. The driver pulled away from the curb smoothly. Elena watched their apartment building disappear in the side mirror. She wondered when she would see it again, or if she would see it again. "Don't look back," Nico said softly. "It makes leaving harder." Elena felt tears threatening behind her eyes. "This is our home." "You'll have a new home now," Nico said. "A better one." Elena felt like he was trying to buy her compliance with luxury. But she also felt grateful for Luis's medical care and safety. The SUV moved through Brooklyn traffic toward an uncertain future. Elena held Luis's hand and tried to believe they were making the right choice. She didn't know that choosing Nico DeLuca's protection would change everything about who she was, or that by tonight she would be deeper in his world than she ever imagined possible. She only knew that Luis was breathing easily beside her, and sometimes that had to be enough. But Elena Ruiz was about to discover that safety and freedom didn't always go together, and that accepting help from the DeLuca family meant accepting a life she'd never chosen, a life where love and danger walked hand in hand, and where her heart would have to choose between the safety she craved and the independence she'd fought so hard to keep. The choice was already made. The SUV was already moving, and there was no going back. The DeLuca estate sat behind high walls in Bensonhurst. Elena pressed her face to the SUV window as they passed through iron gates that closed automatically behind them. The house was a 3-story brownstone with manicured gardens and security cameras on every corner. Men in dark suits patrolled the grounds with visible weapons. "It's like a castle," Luis whispered in amazement. Elena felt intimidated by the obvious wealth and security. This wasn't just a house. It was a fortress. "My mother is waiting inside," Nico said as they pulled up to the front entrance. Elena helped Luis out of the SUV and followed Nico up stone steps to massive wooden doors. They opened before he could knock. Lucia DeLuca stood in the doorway, wearing a cream-colored dress and pearl necklace. Her silver hair was perfectly styled as always. but her eyes showed relief when she saw them. "Elena, dear," Lucia said, embracing her warmly, "I'm so glad you're here." Elena felt some of her tension ease in Lucia's familiar presence. "Thank you for having us." "And this must be Luis," Lucia said, kneeling to his level. "I've heard wonderful things about you." Luis smiled shyly. "Elena says you helped pay for my medicine." "It was my pleasure," Lucia said gently. "Strong boys need good medicine." Elena felt touched by Lucia's immediate connection with Luis. Her maternal instincts seemed genuine and warm. "Come inside," Lucia said, standing. "You must be tired from the morning's excitement." The interior of the house was elegant but comfortable, rich fabrics and dark wood, family photos on tables and walls. It felt like a home despite the obvious security. "Your rooms are upstairs," Lucia said, leading them toward a grand staircase. "Elena, you're in the blue room. Luis is right next door in the yellow room." Elena felt surprised by the arrangement. "We usually share a room." "The connecting door stays open if you prefer," Lucia said, understanding. "But Luis is growing up. He might enjoy having his own space." Luis looked excited by the idea. "My own room?" "With your own television and toys," Lucia confirmed. Elena felt guilty about Luis's obvious pleasure. Their apartment had been too small to give him privacy or luxury. "This is temporary," Elena said, more to herself than anyone else. "Of course, dear," Lucia agreed, but her tone suggested she hoped otherwise. The blue room was larger than Elena's entire apartment, a king-sized bed with silk sheets, an antique dresser, and comfortable sitting area. Windows overlooked the gardens. "It's beautiful," Elena said honestly. "I'm glad you like it," Lucia said. "Dinner is at 7, casual dress. We eat as a family here." Elena felt the word family settle strangely in her chest. She and Luis had been family for 3 years. Adding the DeLucas felt complicated. "Mrs. DeLuca," Elena said as Lucia turned to leave, "I need to understand what's happening. Why are we really here?" Lucia's expression became serious. "Because my son believes you're in danger, and when Nico believes something, it's usually true." Elena felt her stomach tighten. "What kind of danger?" "The kind that comes from helping people like us," Lucia said sadly. "I'm sorry you were pulled into our world, Elena, but I'm grateful you're safe now." Elena felt like she was getting pieces of a puzzle without seeing the complete picture. "How long will we need to stay here?" "Until Nico eliminates the threat." Elena felt a chill at the casual way Lucia mentioned elimination. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means you don't need to worry about it," Lucia said firmly. "Let the men handle their business. You focus on Luis and yourself." Elena felt frustrated by being kept in the dark, but she also felt relieved to let someone else carry the burden of their safety. "Thank you," Elena said quietly, "for everything." Lucia smiled warmly. "Thank you for saving my life, and for bringing such joy into this house." Elena felt confused by the second part. "Joy?" "Luis," Lucia said simply, "this house has been too quiet for too long. Children bring life back to places that have forgotten how to live." Elena felt the sadness underlying Lucia's words. Nico mentioned that he lost his wife. Lucia's expression darkened with old grief. 2 years ago, she was pregnant. They killed them both. Elena felt her heart break for Nico's loss. No wonder he seemed so controlled and distant. "I'm sorry," Elena said. "I can't imagine." "Neither could he," Lucia said, "until today. Watching him with Luis this morning, I saw glimpses of the man he used to be." Elena felt uncomfortable with the implication. "We're not here to fix anyone. We're just here to be safe." Of course, Lucia agreed, but sometimes healing happens whether we plan for it or not. Elena felt like she was being maneuvered into something she didn't understand. But Luis's laughter echoed from the connecting room, bright and happy. "I'll let you get settled," Lucia said. "Ring if you need anything at all." Elena explored her new room after Lucia left. The bathroom was marble and gold. The closet was larger than Luis's bedroom at home. Everything spoke of wealth and comfort. She found Luis in his room, jumping on the bed with pure joy. "Elena," he called, "look at all this space, and there are toys in the closet." Elena felt her heart lift at his happiness. When had she last seen him so carefree? "It's nice, isn't it?" Elena said, sitting on the edge of his bed. "Can we stay forever?" Luis asked hopefully. Elena felt her chest tighten. "This is temporary, baby, just until it's safe to go home." Luis's face fell slightly. "But our apartment is so small, and here I can breathe better." Elena felt guilty about their modest living conditions. She'd done her best, but it had never been enough. "Home isn't about how big the rooms are," Elena said gently. "It's about being together and being free." "Are we not free here?" Luis asked, confused. Elena struggled with how to explain their situation. "We're safe here. That's what matters right now." Luis nodded and went back to exploring his toys. Elena watched him and felt torn between gratitude and unease. At 7 o'clock, they went downstairs for dinner. The dining room was formal but welcoming. Nico stood when they entered, wearing a dark suit that emphasized his height and authority. "How are the rooms?" he asked as he pulled out Elena's chair. Elena felt surprised by the gentlemanly gesture. "Beautiful, thank you." Nico helped Luis into a seat next to Lucia. The domestic scene felt surreal to Elena. "Luis tells me you've been teaching him to cook," Nico said as they were served soup by silent staff. "Basic things," Elena said. "It's important for him to be self-sufficient." "Very important," Nico agreed. "Independence is valuable." Elena felt like he was mocking their situation. "Yes, it is." Something shifted in Nico's expression. "I didn't mean to offend you." Elena felt embarrassed by her defensive reaction. "Sorry, this is all just overwhelming." "I understand," Nico said quietly. "Your life changed overnight. That's never easy." Elena felt surprised by his empathy. She'd expected arrogance, not understanding. "Tell me about school," Lucia said to Luis, smoothly changing the subject. Luis launched into stories about his teachers and classmates. His breathing was easy, and his color was good. The new medicine had made a dramatic difference. Elena watched Nico listen to Luis with genuine attention. His hard features softened when Luis talked about his art projects and science experiments. "You like to draw?" Nico asked. "I love to draw," Luis said enthusiastically. "Elena says I'm really good at it." "Would you show me some of your drawings after dinner?" Luis beamed with pleasure. "I'd love to." Elena felt touched by Nico's interest in her brother. She'd expected him to barely tolerate Luis's presence. After dinner, they moved to a comfortable living room. Luis showed Nico his sketchbook while Elena and Lucia sat nearby. "This is very good," Nico said, examining a drawing of their old apartment. "You have real talent." Luis glowed under the praise. "Elena hung all my pictures on our refrigerator." "As she should," Nico said seriously. "Art should be displayed and appreciated." Elena felt her heart soften toward this man who was being so kind to Luis. "Time for your bath," Elena said when Luis started yawning. "Can I draw some more tomorrow?" Luis asked Nico hopefully. "I'll get you better art supplies," Nico promised. "Professional grade." Luis hugged Nico spontaneously before following Elena upstairs. Elena felt shocked by how quickly her brother had bonded with this dangerous stranger. "He's a good boy," Nico said when Elena returned from settling Luis in bed. "The best," Elena agreed. "He's been through a lot, but he never complains." "Like his sister." Elena felt uncomfortable with the comparison. "I complain plenty." "Not where it matters," Nico said. "Not about the things that would break most people." Elena felt exposed by his observation. "You don't know me well enough to say that. I know you work 3 jobs to keep him healthy. I know you've sacrificed everything for his well-being. I know you'd rather struggle alone than accept help." Elena felt her defenses rising. "Is there something wrong with that?" "No," Nico said quietly. "It's admirable, but it's also exhausting." Elena felt tears threatening behind her eyes. She was so tired of carrying everything alone. "I manage fine," Elena said. "You shouldn't have to just manage," Nico said. "You should be able to live." Elena felt like he was offering something she couldn't accept. "This isn't our life. This is temporary safety." "It doesn't have to be temporary." Elena felt her heart skip a beat. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you and Luis could stay permanently." Elena felt the room spinning around her. "In exchange for what?" "Nothing. Just stay." Elena felt like there had to be a catch. "People like you don't give away houses and medical care for nothing." "People like me give everything to protect family," Nico said, "and my mother considers you family now." Elena felt overwhelmed by the offer and the implications. "We barely know each other." "Sometimes that doesn't matter." Elena felt like he was talking about more than just Lucia's attachment. "What are you really offering?" "Safety, security, a future for Luis that doesn't involve choosing between medicine and rent." Elena felt tempted despite herself. Luis deserved so much more than their struggling existence. "And what would you expect from me?" Elena asked carefully. "Just be yourself," Nico said. "Be the woman who risked her life to save a stranger." Elena felt like he was seeing something in her that she didn't see in herself. "I'm nobody special." "You're wrong about that." Elena felt her breath catch at the intensity in his voice. Something was happening between them that felt dangerous and electric. "I need to think about it," Elena said. "Take all the time you need." Elena excused herself and went upstairs to check on Luis. He was sleeping peacefully in his new bed, surrounded by luxury he'd never experienced. She sat in the chair by his bedside and tried to process Nico's offer. Stay permanently. Give Luis the life she'd always dreamed of providing, but at what cost? Elena had learned that nothing good came without strings attached. Her phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number again. "We know where you are. The DeLucas can't protect you forever. We're coming." Elena felt her blood turn to ice. The threat Nico had described was real, and it had found them. Elena's hands shook as she ran downstairs to find Nico. He was in his study, talking on the phone in rapid Italian. "Nico," Elena called urgently. He looked up and saw her expression. He ended his call immediately. "What's wrong?" Elena showed him the text message. Nico's face darkened as he read it. "How did they get your number?" he asked. "I don't know," Elena said. Her voice was shaking. "What does this mean?" Nico was already making phone calls. Security appeared within minutes. Elena heard urgent conversations in Italian throughout the house. "Are we safe here?" Elena asked when Nico finished coordinating with his men. "We're safe," Nico said firmly, "but we're moving to the compound tomorrow." Elena felt her world shifting again. "What compound?" "Upstate, more secure, better protected." Elena felt like she was being pulled deeper into his world with each crisis. For how long? Until this is over. Elena felt frustrated by his non-answers again, but the text message had scared her more than she wanted to admit. "Will Luis be safe?" Elena asked. "I'll die before I let anyone hurt him," Nico said. His voice was deadly serious. Elena felt some of her panic ease at his absolute certainty. "Thank you. You don't need to thank me for protecting my family." Elena felt her breath catch. "We're not your family." "Yes," Nico said quietly. "You are." Elena felt something shift between them in the quiet study, an understanding that went deeper than protection and gratitude. "I should check on Luis," Elena said. "He's fine. Marco is outside his door." Elena felt surprised. "Who's Marco?" "My right hand. The best security in the business." Elena felt overwhelmed by the level of protection surrounding them. "This is really serious, isn't it?" "Yes," Nico said. "It's serious. But you're safe now. I promise you that." Elena felt like she was putting her entire life in the hands of a man she barely knew. But Luis's safety was more important than her comfort zone. "Okay," Elena said. "We'll go to the compound tomorrow." Something shifted in Nico's expression. Relief mixed with something deeper. "Get some rest," he said gently. "Tomorrow will be a long day." Elena went back upstairs and tried to sleep, but every sound made her jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. She checked on Luis 3 times during the night. He slept peacefully, unaware of the danger surrounding them. Elena felt like she was drowning in circumstances beyond her control. But Nico's promise echoed in her mind. He would die before letting anyone hurt Luis. Elena found herself believing him, and that scared her almost as much as the threats, because trusting Nico DeLuca meant accepting a life she'd never imagined, a life where love and violence walked hand in hand, a life where her heart might not survive intact. But Luis was breathing easily in his expensive bed, and sometimes that had to be enough, even if it meant losing everything she thought she knew about herself, even if it meant falling for a man whose world could destroy them both. Elena fell asleep holding her phone, waiting for dawn and whatever came next. She didn't know that downstairs, Nico sat in his study making calls that would change everything, or that by morning, the rules of engagement would shift completely. She only knew that Luis was safe for tonight, and that Nico DeLuca's eyes had promised something she was afraid to want. Protection, security, family, love, the most dangerous thing of all. The compound sat hidden in the Catskill Mountains, 3 hours north of the city. Elena pressed her face to the SUV window as they wound through dense forest on a private road. "It's beautiful up here," Luis said from beside her. His breathing had been perfect during the drive. The compound appeared through the trees like something from a movie. A large stone house surrounded by smaller buildings, high fences topped with razor wire, armed guards at every checkpoint. "This is where we'll be staying?" Elena asked Nico. "For as long as necessary," he confirmed. Elena felt intimidated by the obvious security measures. "It looks like a military base." "It needs to," Nico said. "The people hunting you don't give up easily." Elena felt her stomach tighten at the reminder of their danger. The text message from last night still haunted her thoughts. The main house was rustic but luxurious. Stone fireplaces and leather furniture, large windows overlooking mountain forests. It felt like a wealthy family's vacation home. "Your rooms are upstairs," Lucia said as they entered. She'd driven up separately with additional staff. Same arrangement as before. Elena felt grateful for the familiar routine. Luis needed stability during all this upheaval. "Can I explore outside?" Luis asked hopefully. With supervision, Nico said. Marco will show you around after lunch. Luis grinned with excitement. Elena felt touched by Nico's attention to her brother's needs. The days at the compound fell into a peaceful routine. Luis played in the gardens under watchful guard. Elena read books from Nico's extensive library. Lucia taught them both to cook traditional Italian dishes. Elena felt herself relaxing for the first time in years. No bills to worry about, no jobs to rush to, no constant stress about Luis's medical needs. "You look better," Nico observed one evening as they sat by the fireplace after dinner. "I feel better," Elena admitted. "It's strange not worrying about money every second." "You shouldn't have to worry about survival," Nico said. "You should be able to just live." Elena felt the familiar pull of attraction when he looked at her. Over the past week, she'd seen sides of Nico that contradicted his dangerous reputation. He read bedtime stories to Luis in accented English. He helped Elena with crossword puzzles after dinner. He brought her coffee in the mornings without being asked. Elena felt herself falling for him despite every rational instinct. "Nico," she said carefully, "what happens when this is over, when the threats are eliminated?" "What do you want to happen?" he asked. Elena felt her heart racing. "I want Luis to be safe and healthy. I want him to have opportunities I can't provide." "That's not what I asked." Elena felt exposed by his directness. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth." Elena felt tears building behind her eyes. "The truth is, I'm terrified of wanting things I can't have." "Like what?" Elena felt her breath catch. "Like this, like safety and luxury and someone else carrying the weight for a while." "You can have all of that." Elena felt like he was offering her the moon. "At what cost?" "No cost. Just stay." Elena felt overwhelmed by the simplicity and complexity of his offer. "And us? What would we be to each other?" Nico moved closer on the couch. His eyes found hers in the firelight. "Whatever you want us to be." Elena felt electricity crackling between them. She wanted to kiss him so badly her whole body ached, but Luis's voice calling from upstairs broke the moment. "Elena, I can't find my inhaler." Elena felt panic spike through her chest. She ran upstairs with Nico close behind. Luis was sitting on his bed, breathing rapidly and looking scared. "Where did you last have it?" Elena asked, trying to stay calm. "In the garden this afternoon," Luis said between gasps. "I must have dropped it." Elena felt her hand shaking as she searched his room. Nico was already on his radio calling for guards to search the grounds. "Found it!" Marco called from the doorway. He held up Luis's rescue inhaler. "Under the oak tree by the fountain." Elena felt relief flood through her as Luis used his medication. His breathing eased within minutes. "Better?" Elena asked, sitting on his bed. Luis nodded. "Sorry I scared you." "Never apologize for needing help," Elena said gently. "That's what family does." She tucked Luis into bed and kissed his forehead. When she turned to leave, Nico was watching from the doorway with an unreadable expression. "You're good with him," Nico said as they walked downstairs. "He's easy to love," Elena said. "So are you." Elena felt her heart stop. "Nico, I know this is complicated," he said. "I know you didn't choose this situation, but I can't pretend I don't feel something for you." Elena felt tears threatening. "I feel it too, but that doesn't make it right." "Why not?" Elena felt frustrated by his simple question. "Because you're you and I'm me. Because our worlds don't mix. Because this whole situation is built on danger and dependence. And because you're scared," Nico added quietly. Elena felt exposed by his accuracy. "Yes, I'm terrified." "Of what?" "Of losing myself, of Luis getting hurt, of caring about someone whose life could end violently at any moment. Nico stepped closer. His voice was gentle. I can't promise you safety from feelings, but I can promise you that Luis will always be protected, and so will you. Elena felt like she was standing at the edge of a cliff again. Jump into love with this dangerous man, or stay safe in emotional isolation. I need time, Elena said. You have it, Nico said. All the time you need. That night, Elena lay awake thinking about Nico's confession. She felt drawn to him in ways that scared and thrilled her. But love and survival didn't always go together. The next morning brought new routine. Luis had art lessons with a teacher Lucia hired. Elena helped with cooking and household management. Nico worked from his study, managing his business by phone and computer. Elena felt like they were playing house, a dangerous, temporary version of domestic life. Elena, Luis said during lunch, are you and Nico going to get married? Elena felt her face burn with embarrassment. Why would you ask that? Because he looks at you the way princes look at princesses in movies. Elena felt her heart flutter despite herself. We're just friends, baby. But you like him, right? Luis pressed. He's nice to us. Elena felt torn between honesty and protection. Yes, I like him. But liking someone and marrying them are very different things. Mom and Dad liked each other, Luis said quietly. Before the accident. Elena felt her chest tighten with old grief. Luis rarely mentioned their parents. They did like each other, Elena agreed. They loved each other very much. Do you think they'd want you to be happy? Luis asked seriously. Elena felt tears building behind her eyes. I think they'd want both of us to be happy and safe. We're both of those things here, Luis observed. Elena felt like her 8-year-old brother was wiser than she was. Yes, we are. That afternoon, while Luis napped and Lucia read in the garden, Elena found Nico in his study. He was reading reports with a serious expression. Bad news? Elena asked from the doorway. Progress, Nico said, looking up. We're getting closer to eliminating the threat. Elena felt her heart skip. How close? Close enough that you should start thinking about what comes next. Elena felt anxiety and excitement warring in her chest. What if I don't want to think about next? What if I want to stay in this moment? Something shifted in Nico's expression. Why? Elena felt her courage building, because this moment feels safe and happy and like something I could build a life around. Nico stood from his desk and moved toward her. Elena? I know it's crazy, Elena said quickly. I know we barely know each other. I know this whole situation is insane, but I feel something for you that I've never felt before. What do you feel? Nico asked quietly. Elena felt her heart pounding, like I could trust you with everything that matters to me, like you see me as more than just someone to protect, like maybe we could be partners instead of protector and victim. Nico reached up and touched her cheek gently. We already are partners. Elena felt electricity shoot through her at the contact. Are we? You've been making decisions about Luis's care, about household routines, about our future. That's partnership. Elena felt like she'd been blind to her own growing role in their lives. I didn't realize. I've been waiting for you to realize it, Nico said, waiting for you to see that you belong here. Elena felt tears of relief and joy building behind her eyes. I do belong here, don't I? Yes, Nico said firmly. You do. Elena felt like a weight she'd been carrying for years was finally lifting from her shoulders. So, what happens now? Now we build the life you want, Nico said. Together. Elena felt her breath catch. What kind of life? The kind where Luis grows up healthy and happy, where you don't worry about money or safety, where we figure out this thing between us. Elena felt like he was offering her everything she'd ever dreamed of. And the danger, your business, will always be part of my life, Nico said honestly. But it doesn't have to touch yours. I can keep those worlds separate. Elena felt grateful for his honesty. I don't need perfect safety. I just need you to be careful. I promise you that. Elena felt herself stepping off the cliff into love. Then yes, let's build that life. Nico's expression shifted into something beautiful and relieved. He cupped her face in both hands. Are you sure? He asked. I'm terrified, Elena said honestly, but yes, I'm sure. Nico leaned down and kissed her gently. Elena felt electricity and rightness and coming home all at once. When they broke apart, Elena felt like her entire world had shifted into focus. I love you, she whispered. I love you too, Nico said. Both of you. You and Luis are my family now. Elena felt tears of happiness streaming down her face. How did this happen so fast? Sometimes the heart knows before the mind does, Nico said. Elena felt like she was finally exactly where she belonged. In Nico's arms, in this protected space, building a future that included love and safety and partnership. A loud crash outside shattered the peaceful moment. Nico immediately moved Elena behind him and reached for his gun. Stay here, he ordered, his voice hard and commanding. Elena felt terror replace joy in an instant. What's happening? I don't know yet. Gunshots erupted outside, shouts in multiple languages. Elena heard Luis crying from upstairs. I need to get Luis, Elena said. No, Marco will get him. You stay here and lock the door behind me. Nico moved toward the study door with his weapon drawn. Elena felt panic rising in her throat. Nico, be careful, she called. He looked back with fierce eyes. I'll protect you both, I promise. Elena locked the door after he left and tried to call Luis's room. The phone was dead. She could hear fighting getting closer to the house. Elena felt helpless and terrified. This was exactly what she'd been afraid of. The violence of Nico's world coming for the people she loved. The study window exploded inward. 2 men in black masks climbed through with assault rifles. Elena Ruiz, one of them said in accented English, you're coming with us. Elena felt her world collapsing. Please, don't hurt my brother. Your brother is already in our possession, the man said coldly. Cooperate and he stays alive. Elena felt her heart stop. You have Luis? Move, now. Elena had no choice but to follow them out of the house. The grounds were chaos, bodies on the ground, smoke from explosions. The peaceful compound had become a war zone. They forced Elena toward a waiting helicopter in the clearing. She could see Luis inside crying and struggling against restraints. Luis! Elena screamed. Elena! Luis called back. His voice was panicked and broken. Elena felt rage and terror consuming her. These men had taken her brother, had hurt him, had destroyed their safe haven. But before they could force her into the helicopter, gunfire erupted from the tree line. Nico appeared with several guards, moving with deadly precision. Get down! Elena's captor shoved her to the ground. The firefight was brief and brutal. Elena kept her eyes on Luis in the helicopter, praying he wouldn't be hurt in the crossfire. When the shooting stopped, Nico was standing over Elena's captors. Both men were dead. His face was covered in blood from a gash above his eyebrow. Are you hurt? Nico asked, helping Elena to her feet. I'm fine. Get Luis. Nico ran to the helicopter while Elena followed. Luis was sobbing but uninjured. Elena pulled him into her arms and held him tight. "Are you okay, baby?" Elena asked. "I was so scared," Luis cried. "They said they were going to hurt you." Elena felt murderous rage toward the men who had terrorized her brother. "You're safe now. We're both safe." Nico was checking the helicopter for additional threats. His shirt was soaked with blood from multiple wounds Elena hadn't noticed. "Nico, you're hurt," Elena said urgently. "I'm fine," he said, but his voice was weak and his face was pale. "You're not fine. You're bleeding everywhere." Nico collapsed suddenly. Elena caught him as he fell, Luis still clutched in her other arm. "Help!" Elena screamed. "I need medical help." Marco and other guards rushed over. They carried Nico into the house while Elena followed with Luis. The next few hours were a blur of doctors and medical equipment. Nico had been shot twice and was losing dangerous amounts of blood. Elena sat beside his bed holding Luis while they waited. "Is Nico going to die?" Luis asked quietly. "No," Elena said firmly. "He's too strong to die." Elena felt like she might lose the man she'd just admitted loving. The irony was crushing. They'd finally found each other just in time for violence to tear them apart. "Elena," Lucia said, entering the room. "The doctors say he'll recover. The wounds aren't life-threatening." Elena felt relief flood through her. "Thank God." "He saved us," Luis said seriously. "He saved both of us." Elena felt her heart swell with love and gratitude. Nico had risked his life to protect them, had nearly died keeping his promise. Nico woke up 2 days later. Elena was sitting beside his bed reading while Luis drew pictures at a nearby table. "Hey," Nico said weakly. Elena felt tears of relief streaming down her face. "Hey yourself. Is Luis okay?" Elena felt her heart melt that his first concern was for her brother. "He's fine. We're both fine because of you." "Good," Nico said. "That's all that matters." Luis looked up from his drawing. "Nico, you're awake." "Hey, buddy," Nico said with a weak smile. "What are you drawing?" "A picture of you being a superhero," Luis said seriously. "Because that's what you are." Elena felt tears building again at her brother's innocent assessment. "The threat is eliminated," Nico said to Elena. "Don Serrano's organization has been dismantled. It's over." Elena felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. "So we're safe now? Really safe?" "Really safe," Nico confirmed. Elena felt like she could finally breathe completely. "What happens now?" "Now we go home," Nico said. "All of us. Together." Elena felt her heart soar. "Home where?" "Wherever you want it to be," Nico said. "The estate, here at the compound, a new place just for us. Your choice." Elena felt overwhelmed by the freedom to choose their future. "Can we decide together, all three of us?" "I'd like that," Nico said. Luis looked up from his drawing again. "Can I vote too?" "Of course you can vote," Elena said, laughing through her tears. "We're a family now. Families make decisions together." "A real family?" Luis asked hopefully. Elena looked at Nico with questioning eyes. He nodded with absolute certainty. "A real family," Elena confirmed. Luis cheered and went back to his drawing with renewed energy. Elena leaned down and kissed Nico gently. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Nico said. "Both of you. Forever." Elena felt like she was finally home. Not in a place, but in this feeling of complete belonging and protection and love. 6 months later, Elena woke up in the master bedroom of their new house in Westchester. Sunlight streamed through windows overlooking a garden where Luis was playing with the puppy Nico had surprised him with last month. Elena felt peaceful and completely happy. Luis's asthma was perfectly controlled with the best medical care. He was thriving in his new private school. His art had improved dramatically under professional instruction. "Good morning," Nico said, bringing her coffee in bed. "Good morning," Elena said, accepting the cup gratefully. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," Nico said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Too excited about today." Elena felt her heart flutter. Today was the day Nico had planned something special. He'd been mysterious about it for weeks. "Are you going to tell me what we're doing?" Elena asked. "After breakfast," Nico said with a smile. "Get dressed. Something nice but comfortable." Elena felt excited anticipation as she got ready. Their life together had been everything she'd dreamed of, and more. Nico kept his promise to separate his business from their family life. Elena felt safe and loved and free to just be herself. At breakfast, Luis was practically bouncing with excitement. "I know what today is," he said conspiratorially, "but I'm not supposed to tell." "Luis?" Elena said with mock seriousness. "Are you keeping secrets from me?" "Good secrets," Luis said. "The best kind of secrets." After breakfast, Nico led them to the garden where a white tent had been set up overnight. Elena felt confused until she saw Lucia inside arranging flowers. "What's happening?" Elena asked. Nico took her hand and looked into her eyes. "Elena, these past 6 months have been the happiest of my life. You and Luis have given me something I thought I'd lost forever." Elena felt tears building behind her eyes. "Nico." "I want to make it official," Nico said, dropping to one knee. "I want to marry you. I want to adopt Luis. I want us to be a legal family in every way that matters." Elena felt her heart stop as Nico pulled out a ring box. The diamond was beautiful, but not ostentatious. Perfect for her simple tastes. "Elena Ruiz," Nico said, "will you marry me?" Elena felt tears of joy streaming down her face. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, of course I'll marry you." Luis cheered and ran to hug them both. Lucia emerged from the tent crying happy tears. "When?" Elena asked as Nico slipped the ring onto her finger. "Now," Nico said. "If you want, I have a minister waiting, our family and closest friends. Everything you need." Elena felt overwhelmed by his thoughtfulness. "You planned our entire wedding?" "I planned options," Nico said. "We can get married today or wait for whatever kind of ceremony you want." Elena looked at Luis, who was grinning with excitement, at Lucia, who was beaming with maternal pride, at Nico, whose eyes held nothing but love and hope. "Today," Elena said. "Let's get married today." The ceremony was small and perfect. Elena wore a simple white dress that Lucia had secretly bought. Luis served as ring bearer. Marco stood as Nico's best man. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Elena felt like her heart might burst with happiness. Nico kissed her gently while their small gathering applauded. "Mrs. DeLuca," Nico whispered against her lips. "I love the sound of that," Elena whispered back. At the reception in their garden, Elena watched Luis play with other children while the adults celebrated. He was healthy and happy and secure. Everything she'd ever wanted for him. "Any regrets?" Nico asked, pulling her close for a dance. Elena looked around at their life. The beautiful house. The people who loved them. Luis laughing with pure joy. "Not a single one," Elena said honestly. "Even though it started with danger and chaos?" Nico asked. "Especially because it started that way," Elena said. "It taught us what really matters." "What's that?" "Love, family, being willing to fight for the people who matter most." Nico spun her around the makeshift dance floor. "What do you want for our future, Mrs. DeLuca?" Elena felt giddy with possibilities. "I want Luis to grow up feeling completely secure. I want us to travel and see the world together. I want more children eventually. More children? Nico asked with surprise and pleasure. If you want them, Elena said, Luis would be a wonderful big brother. I want everything you want, Nico said, all of it. Elena felt like she was living in a fairy tale, but it was real. The ring on her finger was real. Nico's love was real. Their family was real. As the sun set over their garden reception, Elena held Luis while he fell asleep against her shoulder. Nico's arm was around them both. Are you happy, baby? Elena whispered to Luis. The happiest, he murmured sleepily. We're really a family now. We're really a family, Elena confirmed. She looked at Nico, who was watching them with complete contentment. Elena felt like she'd traveled 1,000,000 miles from that morning 6 months ago when she'd been a struggling waitress worried about rent money. Now she was a wife and mother in a family built on love and protection. Thank you, she whispered to Nico. For what? For saving us. For loving us. For giving us this life. Thank you, Nico said, for teaching me how to live again. Elena felt tears of happiness on her cheeks. She looked at their house, their garden, Luis sleeping peacefully in her arms. She looked at her husband, whose dangerous world had somehow led them to perfect safety. Elena felt completely, absolutely, finally home.